Yo, what up, y'all? This is J. Cole, Cold World. The Rock is in the building, and you are now rocking out with Sports Rap Live, right here on Sports Talk 790 AM and iHeartRadio.
Thanks to everybody for rocking with us here on Sports Rap Live. Of course, we were rocking right into break, talking NBA basketball. Recapped All-Star Weekend a little bit, but we got to move on to the second half because that's what it's all about. It's going to be a big sprint, real quick sprint to the end of the season. I mean, think about it. It's March. Playoffs start end of April into May.
It's if it was a track and field event, it'd be the 800, where it's like that little, it's not the sprint that you think a 400 is, but it's that, it's the man's race where you got to basically just gut it out.
Speaking of gutting it out, Kobe Bryant was back on the court last night after, a little concern about the broken nose that he suffered on a hard foul by Dwayne Wade in the All-Star game.
This man fought Eagle County, all right? A broken nose isn't going to bring him down.
Wow, I'm glad you reset the Eagle County story. Yes, of course he did, and he won. And that's what he does. He keeps on winning.
Vanessa won, too, with that big old ring.
Of course she did. But you know what? She deserves every bit of that big old ring and every bit of that money that's coming real soon as well.
Got enough money to keep breaking down houses to build them back up.
Well, look, we talked a little bit about Dwight Howard, of course. There was a lot of Dwight Howard buzz there in Orlando for All-Star Weekend as he was the host All-Star. And the Lakers have declined to comment. The leak sources say that the big man, along with Darren Williams, will not be traded, but instead go to play for Cuba. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. I mean Cuban.
What?
Cuban. I'm sorry. Did I say Cuba?
I was like, man, Fidel got things cracking back up there. I thought he lost power.
Yeah, he's cracking like
Must have busted out a generator or something.
No. The Dallas Mavs, who have enough cap room after this season, going into next season when you'll have a full training camp and a full 82-game slate, apparently are going to make a run at both players. So my prediction is that both guys stay put where they are for the rest of this season, play it out, see what happens, and then possibly end up signing with Dallas.
If these guys don't end up on serious contenders, like if they don't end up in LA, I haven't heard any real teams that they could go to that I think are legit contenders to win it all. I really don't care where they end up in the middle of the season. They go to somewhere, they end up in New York, or they end up with New Jersey, or, if they don't end up on a legit team this year, we're just talking about, rumors and stuff. I understand that's fun, but it doesn't really mean anything to the bottom line of who's going to win the title unless they go to a serious contender like in LA.
Well, what's really fun is the actual trade deadline day, and of course that always falls on a Thursday.
Yep.
On Sports Rap Live for the last 3, maybe 4 years. I can't even remember now. But yeah, so we will be counting down to the deadline and give you all the moves in the NBA. Kadoma is here, ladies and gentlemen, back from Orlando. We are at full strength, running the four-man weave, running our offense right here. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. It feels good to be back here at our home court, Junction Bar, right here at 160 West Gray. Ready to get it in, man. Saw a lot of exciting things out at All-Star Weekend, but, even more excited about this last leg of the NBA season.
No doubt. And you Sports Rap Live will be covering the home stretch out there at Toyota Center.
That's right, and you just mentioned the trade deadline. We'll actually be in Austin for South by Southwest that very day, reporting on trades.
Broadcasting from Status Boutique right there on 6th Street in the middle of the madness, not only of March, but of South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to have an in-store with our man that's coming by tonight, Doe Beasy. And shout out to Kiri Havens from Fly Things. They're collabing on a shirt. So, but let's continue to look ahead at the second half right here in H-Town. Let's keep it, we're back at home. Let's talk about the hometown team. And what I would say is a very impressive half for the Houston Rockets. They're still 21-15 after a tough loss off a back-to-back last night in Utah, where you had a little bit of a rematch in game where Chase Budinger gets out with a two-hand dunk down the lane. But once again, Jeremy Evans kind of came back and won that battle. But you know what? That's okay. If the Rockets lose a second night of a back-to-back in Utah, I'm okay with that. They're still 21-15, right at that 4 and 5 spot.
Here's what I want to talk about with the Rockets: the attendance.
Let's do it.
Where do you think they rank right now, Adam, without looking on my computer screen here, in attendance?
I would say
let me help you out. We're from the last. Not from the middle, but where from the bottom do you think they rank?
I think they're dead last. I would say fun fact. When we're done with this one, I'll tell you a fun fact too.
Well,
I'm saying dead last.
Okay, if you say dead last, I got to say Charlotte is probably dead last. I would say the Rockets, out of how many teams, Andrew?
30.
30 teams, I would say the Rockets rank 27th.
All right. Kadoma, what do you think? Did you look?
I would say they probably rank in the high 20s.
Adam was right. 27th.
Wow. I figured it was
That's
bottom 3.
terrible. That's terrible. You know who's below them? The Pistons, who are god-awful. The Pacers, who really should be doing a lot better as far as attendance-wise. The Nets, who really don't have anything to play for. And then the Rockets.
So you're telling me that Charlotte? Where does Charlotte rank?
Charlotte's 16th.
They got MJ as owner. Somehow he's gonna manipulate ratings somehow.
They sure don't have.
People go to the game just to see MJ.
Yeah, see MJ mess it up management-wise.
Oh.
But look, okay, the Trailblazers, that's a true NBA city. Those fans are phenomenal. They've always been known to be a great NBA city. They're number 2, and they're not putting out some great, amazing product out there. They have Roy, who's, lost for the season. He's talking comeback. They've lost Greg Oden, but that's a good NBA city. I think the Rockets, I think this is a bad NBA city.
Well, you know what's funny? There was a time, I know, G, a little bit before your time.
Whoa.
Hey, a young buck on the show, of course. We got to have that youth here represented.
There you go.
But in our day, Doma, and you probably remember a little bit of it, but you could not find a ticket for a Rockets game at the Summit before and after the 2 championships, before they moved downtown into Toyota Center. You could not get a ticket. I mean, you had to beg just to get in the game. And
wait for that Vernon Maxwell ticket to come through.
Yeah.
Well, they also had a Hall of Famer, one of the top 50 NBA players ever on that team.
Yep.
This team has not even an all-star.
And that's what I was going to add. There is not a real clear-cut superstar on that team. And then a fun fact, too, their TV ratings have dropped 40%.
Wow.
Well, do you think it's because there's not a superstar? I mean,
yeah. Yes.
I guess
I would
that's what
third
it
that
could
motion.
be. Because, I mean, they're fighting to win games. They're obviously in the thick of things when it comes to the playoff race. Maybe the Texans' deep playoff run didn't help.
I name you the bottom teams, 10 teams, in attendance, and you name me the superstar. Yep. You couldn't find one on most of these teams. That's why.
But you don't just go from in the top of the league to bottom 3 in overnight, Kadoma. This has been happening.
This is also part of the NBA. The NBA, how you win is you have a superstar. You get lucky either through the draft or you make some mega trade. It's the NBA is a league of haves and have-nots. The top of the NBA, the Cavs got lucky when they drafted LeBron James. That's just winning the lottery. Same thing with the Spurs. The Rockets haven't really been fortunate. They've had really bad luck with the help of their players.
Andrew, come on with the come on, get down with the get down. Are the Rockets going to make a big move, or is Daryl Morey kind of resting on his laurels?
No. If we had a big move, it would have been. We would have already heard about it. He showed his hand that he wants Pau Gasol. So now we make a big move for Pau Gasol. We're probably going to have to end up paying more than we would have at the beginning. So I mean, once you've tipped your hand and you're getting a guy that I think everyone on this table agrees he's a very good player, but he's not a player to where you can build a franchise around.
Do you think Captain Flopper can save the Rockets' attendance and views?
Did you just say we all agree that he's a good player? Pau Gasol?
Yeah,
he's a good
Speak for yourself, brother.
He's a good player.
Speak for yourself.
I'm speaking with
Andrew.
Really?
A good player?
Really?
I mean,
are you out your damn mind?
He's
Really?
a good player, but why dump the talent that you already have for somebody who's probably on the backside of their
career?
career?
But we're agreed he's not a superstar. He's not someone you can build a franchise around.
No, that is true.
He's a number 2 or number 3 on a championship level team.
I'll give him that.
Pau Gasol reminds me of one of those inflatable men you see waving outside in the wind on top of a building. That's about all he's good for.
Captain Flopper.
I was gonna say, like, making a move with Morey, you already know how I am with him.
Yeah.
What real big moves has that dude made? He hasn't really made any. I really don't see anything happening with it.
Can you put the attendance problem on Daryl Morey?
Hell yeah.
Wow.
He's making moves. He's the one shuffling the deck around.
I'm just surprised nobody here's blaming LeBron for the Rockets' low attendance.
Just give me time. I would have gotten there eventually.
I'll figure out something.
Well, look,
I'll get there eventually.
The Rockets are a decent squad. I don't think there's somebody's licking their chops to face in the playoffs because they are scrappy. And beyond Kevin McHale, questioning what this guy is doing as the head coach, these guys just come out and they have pride and they play basketball the right way.
I'm not saying it's the players' fault. I'm just saying it is what it is. The attendance is down and the players aren't there.
Well, look, speaking of a decent squad, because the Rockets definitely have a decent squad, OKC, and that was facetious. That was a little a little sarcasm there, but OKC is gunning for that #1 seed. With KD and Russell Westbrook, they've been as good as any duo in the league.
I think you got to throw in there Russell James Harden,
Yep.
and Serge Ibaka. Ibaka is
That's a
just
team.
incredible
It's a team.
on the defensive end of the blocks. And pretty much the way they play defense is they'll allow guys to get in the lane because they know that those shots can be erased by Ibaka.
Well, and what's funny is we talk about KD, we talk about Russell Westbrook, and then some of the role players who make up the perfect team and are a great fit for a young franchise, but I don't ever hear anybody talk about Scotty Brooks. Scotty Brooks is the perfect coach for that situation.
And he was deservingly coaching the All-Star team just this past weekend. So he does get his props, but he doesn't get talked about a whole bunch.
Andrew, do you mind pulling it up, and I'll continue on here, but pull up the Oklahoma City attendance. That's what I want to see. Their fans, I know their fans support that team, and they come out college
They're
style.
12th.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty respectable.
What are they averaging? That's I guess my question.
I mean, I 18,200.
Okay. I mean, that's still a darn good crowd for an NBA basketball
They're
game.
6th on the road as far as attendance, so they're probably one of the top, apparently a top 6 draw of teams that are coming to your town that you want to see.
Definitely. Another big draw is the Clippers, and despite being
That's the #1 road team on attendance.
Is it really?
That's the #1 draw in the NBA right now.
I knew it.
Showed.
Well, yeah, well, the CP3 show, that's what it is. It's Lob City. But the Clippers, despite their 5-5 record in the last 10 games, they're still sailing through uncharted territory as a #3 seed. That's just somewhere we don't ever, right on cue, DJ Gons. That's somewhere we don't really ever think of this team being.
I don't think that they know how to win late in games, though. I still want to see them get to the playoffs and figure out their identity, because I think at the end, Blake Griffin is a sort of a liability because of his free throw shooting, and you have to put it all on Chris Paul. It's going to be really difficult to be like, you know what, he gets his teammates involved, but at the end of the game, if you expect him to just start making shots or initiating his own shot, I'm really waiting to see them get to the playoffs to see how they start playing a half-court offense where it's not all Lob City, and they have to start really running set plays.
That was my very next question. I'm glad you segued that. Can this team be a threat in the playoffs?
Absolutely. You have Chris Paul. Chris Paul is, I think, my favorite to be maybe MVP, but I think certainly the best point guard in the NBA. I think they can seriously make a run, but it's going to depend on how that offense adjusts to the half-court style in the NBA playoffs.
I wouldn't bank so much on the half-court style in the NBA playoffs. I mean, this season is a real different kind of season.
Have you seen an NBA playoffs where the half-court offense wasn't what was played in the playoffs?
Traditionally, yes, but I think this season is different. I mean, you're seeing a lot of teams that are run and gun that are top seeds right now, so I really think in the playoffs it's going to be more a question of matchups than anything else.
The playoffs are right around the corner, but I'll take it back to '99, the last time we had a season like this that was shortened. San Antonio Spurs won that championship against the New York Knicks on defense and running set plays in the half court for Timmy Duncan. That was really that's how they won that championship, and the Knicks played really good defense for an Eastern Conference team that year. So we'll see. I mean, it has been a run and gun type of league, and we have a lot of young players.
I was going to add, with the Clippers, they do have that option to go with. But, I mean, with Chris Paul, they can run half-court set. I mean, he was basically doing that when he's playing against the Lakers when they had that whole playoff run where they were actually winning some games because it was on his shoulders. And it was just him, but now he actually has some key players on that team to make it happen.
Definitely. Well, what are you guys looking most forward to in the next 6 weeks before the playoffs happen? We want you to call in to the Silverleaf Ghost Pepper Hotline at 713-212-5790. And shout out to Spring Branch Mexican, of course, who's always out there. And shout out, I feel like it's a Sunday, man. A lot of shout outs tonight, but BC Smoke Shop, they've been holding us down, of course, and the Rapp Pack down. If you want to grab one of our coupons here on the table, we've got the cards here for you tonight, or you can go to sportsraplive.com and print your own off, and that's the Rapp Pack special where you get $20 off when you go in there and you spend $100, man. You know what? They've got great glass pieces. They've got some really exclusive artists that they work with. They've got, hey, if you feel like you might flunk that baseball test and you need to detox, you go right in there.
Manny Ramirez, call these folks.
That's right. Dang. You call BC or you visit
Ryan Braun, call these folks.
Well, he needs to call Brown, because what can Brown do for you? Because FedEx wasn't working for him, apparently.
The flat rate box, baby.
That's right.
Flat rate box.
He should have done a preemptive strike and gone there.
Or they just come to H-Town and visit the 2 Houston area locations at 7909 Westheimer between Hillcroft and Fondren, or FM 1960 at Jones Road. But right now, Andrew, before we shift gears and head up there to Jones Road, we're going to shift gears and get into some college hoops.
Yeah.
In the Martinez Report, because Kadoma, as we said before you joined us, today is March 1st.
And we need to start it all off by advising people to go to 790, the website.
Sports790.com.
Sports790, and join on the bracket, because it's going to be a big competition. I'm looking forward to it. I think they get like a billiard set from the billiard factory. I think it's like a poker table and whatnot.
Dang.
I tried to get on there today. I lost track of it, but I'm definitely going to sign up before the weekend's over so I can try and get in on that.
Well, not only that, Andrew, we're going to be filling out our own brackets right there on the website, so you guys can challenge us. If you feel like you've got what it takes to fill out the perfect bracket, which usually ends up being like an 82-year-old woman or like a 9-year-old kid that loves the mascots.
That's right.
You know? But
yes, it's right there on the homepage.
Absolutely. Go to sports790.com and play against all your favorite hosts and personalities from the station. All right, so let's get into what we're going to see on this bracket, Andrew, coming up.
Well, I want to talk on the big issue this week has been Ben Howland and the UCLA. There's a massive article that was written by George Dorman on basically the state of UCLA and how the program has just gotten away from him. It sort of all revolves around Reeves Nelson, and his basically being, I have to choose my words carefully here, but him being a jerk, pretty much. a grade A, top of the list jerk to all of his teammates. I mean, he basically was drugging and, and I think that this happens to a lot of programs where they're obviously losing, but there's drugs, alcohol, there's a lot of other problems. It extends all the way to, though, Adam, he would be in practice and a guy had like a separated shoulder. He'd yank on the guy's shoulder to basically re-dislocate it, and he'd hurt his own players. My favorite story in the whole thing, though, is one of his teammates. They had a New Year's Eve party they were going to go to. They got a party bus, and so one of the players supposedly leaked it out to Ben Howland that they were going to try and do this New Year's Eve party bus. And once Reeves Nelson found out that it had been kind of nixed by the coach, he ordered a bed check. He thought it was his teammate Tyler Honeycutt. So he got all of Honeycutt's clothes, put it on the bed, then peed all over all the clothes and flipped the bed over.
Listen, this guy is so bad that his own mother said, yes, he should have been kicked out of UCLA. I applaud Coach Howland.
I'm just shocked that it took him to his junior year. It took him to his junior year to get kicked off, and the guy was skipping. He missed the team flight to Hawaii. Like, if you're going to miss all the flights, why would you miss the team flight to Hawaii? It makes no sense. I think this is going to end badly for Ben Howland. It's not a reason for Ben Howland to get fired. I think you could find a lot of these issues and cases across a lot of programs where they're not having success. But the fact that they're already on the way down as far as the bad seasons they had, this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they're going to end up getting him fired. Well,
and a lot of times you can take care of discipline in-house, you can keep it in-house, but this became so public. But bottom line is, they've not been to the tournament 4 out of the last 6 years.
And that's the other scary thing. Well, not the scary thing, but the ironic thing is that Ben Howland took them to 3 Final Fours. It's pretty crazy that they could fire a coach of that caliber. But when you look where the program's heading, I think Howland's going to probably nip this in the bud and take a new job before it gets to that point. It's sad that the UCLA program has gotten to these depths.
And I think he might be in the building tonight. I smell an aroma of some Reeves. He might be pumping on that Reeves over here. I don't know. But you know what? One last thing on that story, Andrew, and I thought it was really funny, the overreactionary time period we live in now, era we live in. He was called a thug. He was called a punk. And everybody immediately thought those were racist comments. But he's a white kid.
Oh, yeah.
He's a white kid. Everybody started jumping down.
And by the way, all those things you just said, absolutely true. You cannot read that article and not think this guy is a piece of garbage.
Right, but it was so funny how everybody wanted to pull out their race card immediately, and then they found out, oh, it's a white kid? Oh.
That's not a good look, son.
No, absolutely not. All right,
let's jump back into actual things on the court, though.
Absolutely.
So Northwestern, I think that's one of the big story is last night they had a chance against Ohio State at home to kind of finally seal the deal and stamp their ticket that they're finally in, and they were close. They had it within their grasp, and they just let it slip away. And a big shot at the end of the game by Solinger, and it kind of sealed their fate. I don't think they're going to make the tournament. I would be very shocked at this point if they are able to make it in.
They still have to play Iowa.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that they're not even better than like maybe Iowa or like Illinois or Minnesota. These other, you don't have to be Ohio State. You don't have to be Wisconsin or Michigan State or even Michigan. Just be good enough. And it's sad. I think it's probably going to end in the firing of Bill Carmody. He's been there 11 years. They're still the only NCAA BCS conference team that still hasn't made the tournament. So It's rough for them. I feel bad for their
imagine
fans.
being the
I feel so
singular
bad.
university in major conference sports that has not made the NCAA tournament when they let 68 teams
And
in.
the thing is that they've had so many chances the last couple of years with John Scherner there. This is the winningest class they've had there in the history of Northwestern basketball, and I just don't see it. They still have chances, obviously. You know, they beat Iowa this weekend, and then they go on to have a very good run in the Big Ten tournament. But it's just, I don't see it with this team. I don't think they're going to get over the hump. It's disappointing for sure.
Well, I know you keep your eyes on a lot of the guys out there that put out their projections, their brackets. You follow college sports and especially college basketball more intensely than anybody I know. So why don't you take us around some of the different bracket projections that we're going to see here?
Yeah, I'm going to try and jump off here with a little bit of bracketology. So I'm looking at right now Joe Lunardi. His last four in are Miami, Xavier, Texas, and Northwestern. And I'm going to jump over and give you Jerry Palm. Jerry Palm's last four in are Mississippi State, Northwestern. Obviously, this is probably before the Northwestern game. South Florida and Texas. That's Texas on two of them there. And then Andy Glockner of Sports Illustrated, his last four in are Xavier, Colorado State, Northwestern, and Texas. So you can kind of see a theme there. Northwestern's probably right on that line, and that loss last night probably kicked him out. I think Texas, though, really still can get in. They had a win this week against Oklahoma where they were battling back and forth. If they took that loss, they would have surely been out. But I think they can still do a little bit more work in the Big 12 tournament and get their way in. Colorado State is right there on the fringe, too. They're in the Mountain West. They've beaten, I know, UNLV, New Mexico, and San Diego State. Those are nice wins, but it's also about what you did in the non-conference season, and they really didn't do much. Xavier, they're such a mess. I could still see them getting hot, but it's like, by this point in the season, you are what you are. If you're not a well-functioning team that's beating, taking care of business, and they lost to St. Louis this past game. That's not a bad loss. St. Louis is a very good team, but they're not taking advantage of their opportunities. So, and Mississippi State is a complete head case. I don't even know what to do with them.
St. Louis, what's their mascot? The Billikens?
The Billikens.
That's a pretty cool mascot.
Yeah.
I don't know what a Billiken is. Gons, do you know what a Billiken is?
Sounds like some kind of bird.
Rick Majerus is the coach there, and I would not want to mess with that man.
Not at all. Not at all. All right, Andrew. Well, hey, you want to look at some of the games that are coming up?
Yeah, I do. I want to look at some of the games.
We're in the conference tournament time, right?
We are. It just kicked off, so I'll run through some of the conference tournaments that have just started this week, actually. I know the American East one has started off. The number one seed there is Stony Brook. Not many other teams in there. Vermont's been pretty hot this season. Some of the other tournaments are the Atlantic Sun. That's Belmont. Belmont has been highly touted this entire season. I really hope they make the tournament because that's going to be a really, really fun team to watch, an exciting team. The Big South has started up. Their number one seed is VMI, who won tonight against Winthrop. So VMI, that's actually the 7th seed, which is pretty interesting. The number one seed is UNC Asheville, who they'll most likely be playing, but that could be very interesting to VMI, who's the 7th seed, makes the tournament.
Another 3-letter school with the letter V.
Yeah. The Colonial is another one that started up. Drexel has a lot of wins. Old Dominion and VCU, George Mason. This is a team that could maybe send multiple bids in. Everyone remembers VCU from last year and their great run with Shaka Smart. The Horizon League has started up. If people don't know about the Horizon, that's the one with Butler. Butler's actually going to play tomorrow night. The number one seed there is Valparaiso. We also have the Metro tournament. The number one seed there is Iona, who we've been talking a lot about with Scotty Machado. Let's see who else we got. The Missouri Valley is a conference I've been covering at RotoWire. That's Wichita State, who has been highly touted the whole season. Yep. Creighton, we've been talking about them a lot too. I think that's going to be a really interesting tournament because if one of those top two teams doesn't win it, we talk about bid thieves. If someone wins this, that bubble that we're talking about, that last four, you can kind of chop that in half, start throwing those teams out because that bubble, those room for them, has pretty much shrunk to nothing. The Northeastern tournament, the number one seed there is Long Island. They'll probably be like a 16 seed. They're not very good. We also have the Ohio Valley, who has Murray State. We've been touting Missouri State all season and keep track of them.
Murray State lost a big one to Cincinnati. That was kind of no, I'm sorry, that was Marquette.
Marquette,
yeah. Yes.
But Murray State, I really hope they make it in because, we won't have another one of those bid thieves, but they're going to have a big game probably against Tennessee State, who nipped them earlier in the season. They'll be looking for revenge. The Patriot League, we have Bucknell. They've been kind of flying under the radar this season. The Southern Tournament has UNC Greensboro. They also have Davidson, who famously made a big run a couple seasons ago with Stephen Curry. The Sun Belt, who has Middle Tennessee State, who has really been doing a lot of good work this year. They'll probably get in as an at-large, which is surprising for the Sun Belt team. And the last one that's been started up lately is the West Coast Tournament, which is one of my favorite ones because it's held in Vegas. And that one has St. Mary's, Gonzaga, and even BYU. I could see a scenario when none of those three teams make it in, and, it's another bid thief there.
That was, of course, Gonzaga's That's Gonzaga's conference.
Yeah, St. Mary's is the number 1 seed. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep. All right, well, I'm looking forward to something this weekend that is probably the biggest game in college basketball for the ACC title. Andrew, give us a little couple-minute wrap-up of what you're going to see this weekend.
It's also going to be for the number 1 seed potentially in the tournament. I think North Carolina has revenge on their mind. You look at that game they played and how the way they lost. They were leading that game. They had a healthy lead. They were doing fine until they just kind of choked it away. I think they're going to come out guns blazing. I look for Harrison Barnes to have a big game. I think it's going to be a very fun game. And I also think that Duke is not going to have that. Austin Rivers is not going to have that kind of same game. I think they're going to be gunning for him and realize that he's pretty much the lone threat offensively.
Well, this is at Cameron Indoor Arena.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So, do you think that helps Duke, or?
I think it hurts them. Duke's been really bad. Well, not really bad. They've struggled at home this season, and they've actually played better on the road. So I look for North Carolina to take advantage of that, and I think they can come away with the win.
Well, there it is, straight from the horse's mouth. The Andrew Martinez, and of course the Martinez Report. You can catch it every Thursday and Sunday night, and catch all the games of March Madness starting on that fateful Tuesday night with the play-in game, and catch us out in New Orleans. And make sure you go to sports790.com and challenge us in the bracket challenge, because we're coming for you. We don't pick chalk, we do our homework. And we come back right here. We're going to talk some NFL Combine on Sports Rap Live. So you guys stick around. We'll be right back.